let's go back to Finlay.
Yeah.
So he seems like a very old school guy, a very stoic
Yeah.
guy. Was there chemistry with you guys straight away?
I I talk about it all the time. Finley is literally my wrestling dad. I text him every Father's Day, Happy Father's Day to this day. Um, I came in at a time where the hazing and the locker room bullying, so to speak, was still a thing. It was at the end of its run, but it was still a thing. Miz has come out about the chicken story, and I was there on that tour when that happened. And I never got hazed or bullied. I should have. Look at me. I'm easy target. But I truly think the reason is because people viewed me as Finley's kid and they weren't going to mess with Fit. No one was going to mess with Fit. Otherwise, he'd beat the shit out of him. And then, I truly think that was why is they viewed me as his kid. And I carried myself as his kid. And I think that Fit viewed me as another kid of his. And it was great, man. Like that's a relationship I'm very, very lucky to have, is a guy that's so smart and so like knowledgeable in this business and in wrestling in general. And then in life, he taught me so many life things about raising my son and about being a dad and carrying myself how I should. I'm very, very lucky to have him in my life, especially at that age. I was turned 20 years old 2 days before I signed my contract. I was a child, legitimate child still. And to be able to be on the road with him and work every show with him, great.
And you're young, you come in, you're with Finlay, and then your first WrestleMania that you're on,
Yeah, man.
there's Donald Trump and Vince McMahon in the Battle of the
Yeah.
Billionaires, and then you're going to be involved in the Money in the Bank ladder match. What do you remember about that weekend, finding out what you're going to be doing, and just kind of being in that environment?
That was the moment where I go, oh, I have made it. I was on TV, for a year about then, weekly, every week, pay-per-views with Fit every week or every month kind of thing. WrestleMania, the lead up was like, okay, I'm here. I'm going to be doing something in the Money in the Bank. In the hotels, there's always 2 rehearsal rings for that week where you're going over the matches and all that. So we had a rehearsal for the Money in the Bank match, and the idea was Kennedy was going to power bomb me off the ladder. Like a couple of rungs, I start climbing, he gets under, he power bombs me off the ladder. We get the crash pad out, and I kept taking it because I kept looking to the side, and it would have hurt me for sure. And then they say, "All right, let's cut that," and I'm like, "Oh, this was going to be my WrestleMania moment." So everyone's talking, and Ken and I are still in the rehearsal ring. And I look at him and I go, "Can you give me your finish off the ladder?" And he goes, "What?" I said, "Let's go. Let's see." So we both climb these in the rehearsal ring. We both climb the ladders, and everyone else in the match is talking the match out, and I just hear Fit go, his signature laugh that I can hear every day of my life as Ken's picking me up on his shoulders in the rehearsal ring. And I go, "Ready?" And he goes, "You want to do this?" I said, "Let's do it." And we didn't tell anyone we were doing it. We hit it onto the crash pad, not the foam mat, but the crash pad. Boom. And I go, "Oh, I think we got it." And John Laurinaitis was the one producing it too. He goes, "Oh, you okay, kid?" I go, "I'm great." And Fit goes, "I think we got it. I think that's it. Let's do it." And now looking back on it, my first WrestleMania, doing that spot in the middle of the ring with the guy that not only trained me but got me my job in Ken, and like it's probably the number one spot brought up to me, like, is that. And it made every music video from that Mania. It made the DVD book the case, and it's just, I didn't think it was going to be that lasting of a moment. I talked to Ken a couple months ago. I said, I didn't realize at the time how lasting this moment would have been. Like, it's crazy to think back, and that was how big of an impact that's had.
And then kind of that summer is such a bizarre summer in 2007 because, nobody is expecting the Benoit situation to happen. and then Vince. There's the storyline with Vince McMahon where he is goes into a limo, gets blown up, and then there's a funeral for him. And I remember.
Day, looking back, it is the eeriest day I've ever been a part of with that company. Everyone, we're all in suits because there's gonna be Vince's funeral that day, and so everyone is in suits and like funeral wear. And then the news breaks to us. They were setting up the Vince's funeral in the arena when the news was broke. It was so eerie feeling.
But there's the limo blow up thing.
Yeah.
There's the Vince funeral. I mean, that day has got to be a strange day because
in general,
at
no
that
one
point
knew anything, and then it was just bit by bit that stuff was coming out. And man, I remember everything about that day so vividly.
Because I mean, for me as a fan watching at home, I remember.
How was it like here? Like,
well, because I remember
it would have been so late. It would have been early hours of the morning.
Well, for us, I remember sitting down to watch the funeral episode of Raw.
Yeah.
And it opens with Chris Benoit has died, and then there's a whole memorial.
It's at 1 a.m.
Yeah, 1 a.m. So I think because at that point you're not on Twitter, so you're not getting the instant information of what's happened. So then the memorial show happens, and everybody thinks, well, Benoit has died. That's tragic what's happened. And it was only after that show, I guess, or during when that was happening that it came out what had actually happened.
Yeah.
And it had already been too late. But I mean, who's to know that you're then going to, by default, become involved with Vince later that summer?
Thank God, Ken. I always say, thank God you messed up because it put me in that position. It was definitely supposed to be Mr. Kennedy.
Yeah.
100% supposed to be Mr. Kennedy. And then I think that was the pharmacy thing.
Well, because I'm assuming that obviously when the Benoit situation happens, they've got to change the story. Vince can't.
Yeah, I don't know what this whole situation was going to be with the Vince death. Obviously, that never I never heard of where they were going to go with that or anything.
Yeah, because they were going to have the funeral, but then they kind of let all that go. So the next storyline is Vince has an illegitimate child.
Yeah.
So do you remember before you got involved with it, was there just a lot of chat of it's going to be Kennedy, and that kind
was
of
the rumor everyone was kind of pointing to. Yeah.
And then he gets suspended.
Yep.
So how do you find out that you're going to be involved?
3:30 p.m. that day. It's in Green Bay. Bruce Pritchard comes up to me. And he goes, "Give me your phone." And I go, "Off." Just give me your phone. Okay. He goes, "You're the son." And I go, "Excuse me?" Again, this is in Green Bay. It's my wrestling hometown. And I didn't think I was going to be booked that night. He goes, "They're doing rehearsal right now. I'm keeping your phone till after the show." He goes, "This can't get out." I said, "Great." I said, "Can I make one call?" And he goes, "Sure." I said, "I want to call and make sure my dad and my grandpa come to the show tonight." He goes, "Perfect." Called my dad. I said, "Hey, can you and grandpa come to the show tonight? It's going to be a big deal." And sure as hell was. So they were doing rehearsal of the whole segment of people getting eliminated and all that. And Bruce goes, "When everyone leaves," he goes, "Where's your gear bag?" I said, "It's in the locker room." I explained where it was. I said, "All right." He goes, "When everyone leaves the ring, you sneak under." I go, "Okay." He goes, we'll have someone bring you your gear. Just stay under there. He goes, "Be on the headset, but do not talk." I'm thinking, okay. About 20 minutes later, Vince talks to me and explains how everything's going to work. He goes, "Please don't talk," because he didn't want producers or anyone knowing. Camera guys, nothing. That it was going to be me. Okay. So I'm getting changed, and it's about halfway through the show, and I see my cruiserweight title. At the time I was cruiserweight champion. I see my cruiserweight title in the bag, and I go, should I come out with it? What do I do? I have the headset. I go, I should ask, but I don't know. I was told not to. So I pushed the button. Kevin down there. Kevin? No. Kevin? No. Kevin? I thought we told you. He goes, "I thought we told you not to talk on this." And I'm like, "Hey, I just have a question. Should I come out with the cruiserweight title?" And I remember he goes, "I'll ask him." He goes, "Excuse me, Vince. The guy under the ring wants to know if he should come out with the cruiserweight title. God damn it, that's a great question. Yes, because it's one of the clues. And I was like, you, Kevin. I won. I fucking won. Like, it just made me feel so good that you were such a dickhead to me about it. And I had a really good question. And it made sense because that was one of the things of he's a champion, holds gold or whatever. He loves gold. So he was a champion. And I was like, oh, perfect. And man, it was the week after. The week after we did the announcement, or we did the whole revealing and all that. The next week, Stephanie McMahon came up to me. We were shooting a backstage thing. She came up to me. She goes, "Hey, you got a second?" I said, "Of course, Stephanie McMahon."
This.
Sis. I said, "Of course." She goes, "I don't think you know how big this is going to be." And I go, "I don't." She goes, "Every week, take it all in because this is going to be awesome." And I'm like, man, for her to say that is pretty awesome. She didn't need to do that. Like, she didn't need to like put it over as what it was going to be, but she took the time to do that. And it was like, even just that was like, that made me again go, this is going to be big. And then there's like, what really hit me looking back on it now, because again, at the time, I don't watch myself. I've watched 5 matches of mine in my whole life. Looking back on it, they did the 15th anniversary Raw. The opening segment is like the McMahon family photo, which I'm in. There was 3 segments during the show that I was involved in, and one of was posing with Hulk Hogan, which is insane.
Because he saved you from the Great Khali.
Of course he did, but he didn't want to rip his shirt. That was, oh man, one of my favorite things about that day was, I was like, man, they told me you're going to pose with Hogan after the match. I said, we get to rip our shirts? And he goes, oh, well, yeah, we'll ask Hogan. They'll ask Hogan, okay, everyone's going to rip their shirts? And I was like, yeah, sweet. I'm going to rip my leprechaun shirt and everything. We're going to pose down. It's going to be great. And he goes, not ripping the shirt tonight, brother. Son of a bitch came out wearing an Under Armour shirt. I was like, oh, this sucks. But I still got to pose with Hulk Hogan. It's in my office. The picture is hanging in my office. It's pretty awesome. And then the closing shot of that Raw is me pouring beer on Vince. The closing shot of that episode, the 15th anniversary, is me pouring beer on Vince. I didn't realize what I had. I truly didn't until the last couple of years.
And when it first happens, like a couple of weeks, you go back to TV that next week. Stephanie tells you, take in how big it's going to be. Is there a point where you're told what the long-term plan is going to be, or what maybe they're thinking about doing?
I didn't know the long-term plans until a couple of years ago when Bruce Pritchard told me it was supposed to be Vince and Fit at Mania. I didn't know that. I had no idea what we were doing. I had no idea the end game. I had no idea it was going to be revealed that Fit was my dad. I had no idea. I just showed up to work every week and loved life.
Mm-hmm.
Like, working side by side with Vince McMahon every week, and then doing SmackDown with Finlay every week, and then doing house shows with Finlay every week. I was so incredibly busy, but looking back on it, it was so awesome. They made me, so there's always like a list of merch people of like top 8. They always do top 8. So when they come out with stockings or the little knickknacks, you know what I mean? It's always the top 8. I was the top 8. I had stockings. I had ornaments. I had the pewter rings. There's a pewter ring of me. It was just my face on a ring. It's like crazy shit like that. That's how much they like saw in me. Again, at that point, it was just merchandise to me. Now looking back, seeing how they viewed me is incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Was there any kind of anybody backstage who was kind of resentful that you had that spot, or was everyone happy for you?
No, everyone. Like I say, I never dealt with bullying. I was the number one bully in the backstage. I was the one to bully people. I was the one stirring up in the locker room just to make myself laugh.
And I mean, before I just ask you a couple more questions about Vince, is it difficult now for you, with obviously the real life Vince stuff that goes on, does it affect you being able to talk about it? Is that something that you've kind of found you have to navigate it?
Navigate, yeah, but it's also something that I've realized, like, man, the biggest thing that's ever happened in my career. I mean, the DX stuff is amazing. Cruiserweight champion, amazing. WLC, I'll never top. Being Vince's son was the biggest thing that happened in my whole career. And it's now like cannot be talked about by the company, and I understand it. I completely get it. And I completely understand why. But it's still like a bummer to me because it's the biggest thing that I ever did.
I mean, you had the cage match with Vince is another kind of, I mean,
It's crazy. Like,
bucket list thing at that point.
I never thought I'd wrestle in a cage on Raw against Vince. And yeah, there's a picture out of him just like staring me down inside a steel cage. Him looking just jacked, like always.
People kind of in the past, before he's kind of Lord Voldemort, you don't talk about it anymore. But like people used to kind of make fun of how unathletic he was in the ring.
Oh,
Was that something?
he's a old man. Like, come on, guys. What are we? He got the kicked out of him all the time. He doesn't have to be doing double Hurricane Ranas. He just gets kicked out of him, and we're all going, "This is amazing." And when he took the thunder from Austin, we're still going, "This is fun." We're not all going, "Oh, look at this old piece." No, we're like smiling ear to ear every time he was in a segment. People are smiling ear to ear because he's finally getting his. If people at him because of his athletic ability, they take this way too seriously. Obviously, they didn't see me bite an ass or run through a wall because they take it way too seriously.
I mean, just to clarify, I mean more like on DVDs and stuff. You have people kind of going,
"Oh,
yeah, like knocking him and kind of tongue in cheek. And my question was going to be, did Vince ever? Do you think Vince took himself seriously in the ring, or do you think
Hell no.
Do you think
I think it was always like a, watch this reaction. I'm gonna get out there, guys. Kind of like a follow that kind of thing because he knew he's gonna get over, and he always got over. Everything he did got over. Everything.
And what was it? I mean, you worked with him for like 8 months or something like that, 6 months. What was it like working with him week to week? Was there any kind of memorable things that stick out to you?
I remember. I look back and every week or every time I think about it now, I go, why didn't you just ask him something? Like, the first thing that comes to mind, the first thing that always comes to mind is like when we were sitting backstage waiting for a pre-tape or waiting for a live shot, and me just going, "Hey, so what really happened with Nails?" And I don't know why that's the first thing that comes to mind, but every time I think back, it's always like, "Hey, what really happened with Nails?" And then it's followed up with, "Tell me about you trying out the Shawn Michaels entrance." Those are the two things that always pop in my head. It's never a, "How did you beat Eric Bischoff?"
Closely followed by, why did Randy Savage never come back?
I don't want to go that deep. That deep I don't want to go. But it's always like the stupid shit that happened in wrestling that I want to know about. Hey, how long did it take to put up Ultimate Warrior's symbol pyro? I need to know that. Did you make him wear that hat and Raw? Like, that's the thing. Like, I've always been, I love weird things in wrestling. The Wrestle Crap book is easily one of my favorite wrestling books of all time. Just to look back at that stuff and go, how did this happen? So I always like the funny oddball moments in wrestling. I've always been a fan of. And so, but I think about that all the time of like, why didn't I pick his brain? I think it literally was like, I was afraid of him going, "All right, get away from me, kid." I never wanted that reaction. And he wouldn't have. I guarantee he would have told me about Nails. I guarantee he would have opened up to me about Nails.
Why didn't you do it?
I'm so mad. Now you're making me more mad at myself.
I'm mad at you.
I could have had a real good Nails scoop.
We could have got it here.
Something that no one's ever had is a good
I've never told anyone, but in 2007, he told me what happened with Nails.
So Nails just started doing signings in the U.S. last year.
You asked him yet? Is that what?
I need to. Now I need to ask Nails. All right, Nails. First off, I saw him at WrestleCon. I was legitimately afraid of him. He's got to be 60, and I'm still terrified of Nails.
He's terrifying. He is.
Terrifying.
I mean,
Nails, if you're out there, I need to know what happened.
I mean, I guess the thing with Vince was because you were 19 or 20 at that point, like, if I was 19 or 20 and put in that position, I'd barely be able to do it. Never mind think of weird WrestleCrap things to ask Vince. But did you, at the end of it, do you think by having the angle with him on TV that kind of made the relationship easier going forward, or do you think it would have been the same without it?
I think it made him trust me, like that I could pull things off, and that I kind of, I don't know, man. No one deserves to be there. I truly feel no one deserves to be there. There's a million wrestlers. You're lucky to be there. I truly feel everyone is. It's not like the deserving of TV time. No one deserves TV time. You earn it, and I truly feel that way. Like, sure, they give it to some people. No one's deserved any of that. I'm not deserving to be able to still do this today. I'm lucky to be able to do this today. I truly, truly feel that way at 38 years old. I've accepted that.